Okay, so let's talk about desensitization and counter-conditioning. So these two techniques are really useful for when you're out and about, training your puppy, socializing them to the outside world and exposing them to different environments. So desensitization is the process of gradually and safely exposing your puppy to a particular stimuli, one that could have previously been scary, for example. The important thing with desensitization is that you start at a level which is below the puppy's threshold. So make sure that the level that you start with is at a point where your puppy can relax, can feel calm, and even though they may be aware of the stimuli being in their environment, they're not frightened or overly stimulated by it. And this is really important for them to be able to learn and to process the information that you're giving them. So once you've established that level, we can then look at counter conditioning. Now, counter conditioning is the process where we change an animal's emotional response to something. So when a puppy may be feeling frightened to something, we can then change their feelings to actually feel quite positive about it, and actually, dare I say it, like the stimuli rather than being quite fearful of it. And the way you do this is by pairing it or associating it with something really positive. So if every time they saw the lollipop lady, for example, you gave them a peanut butter bone, then after a number of repetitions, every time they saw the lollipop lady, they would then get really excited because they'll be predicting the positive thing. But that would overall change how they felt about the lollipop lady. So rather than being scared, they actually really liked her or him. So how can we use this in everyday life? Let's take an example of the puppy's ultimate nemesis, for example, the Hoover. So at home, when you get the Hoover out and you're about to Hoover, and you turn the Hoover on, your puppy may go into fight or flight mode as a sign that it's actually quite fearful of the Hoover. So this could mean the puppy jumps on it, bites it, tries to attack the Hoover, or it could just freeze or just try and get out of there and run into a different room and hide. So the way we can use desensitization and counter conditioning in this situation is to find the level where the puppy is happy or comfortable having the Hoover in its environment and not reacting to it. So this may be having the puppy in a different room, or it could be playing a CD to the dog of a Hoover, where you could turn down the sound of the Hoover to a very low level, depending on what the puppy finds frightening, whether it's the presence of the Hoover or the sound, or it could be both, depending. So in this situation, what we could do is, once we found a level where it's happy, say, as I said, in a different room, we could then pair it with something really positive like a peanut butter bone, and then change its emotional response to that Hoover. So every time it heard the Hoover or saw the Hoover, we paired it with a peanut butter bone. After a number of repetitions, it could hopefully see the Hoover and actually get excited rather than being quite fearful. And as the days went on, we could gradually get the puppy closer to the Hoover, or the noise turned up, and for the puppy to feel calm and relaxed or excited because it's paired it with something tasty. So this is really a good and helpful technique to use when the Hoover comes into play. But the point of this video is to highlight what we can do at the moment, because we're all in lockdown, and we do have a lot of restrictions where we can't get our puppy out to an environment that we need to get them to, or that we want to get them to, and unfortunately we can't go into any shops or coffee shops. So what we're doing is we're using, or we're recommending CDs, or if you use a CD these days, or a link to play to your puppy different sounds or different noises, and by playing them in the home at a very, very low level and pairing it with something tasty, hopefully your puppy will be able to get used to these noises. So when it goes out either for the first time into a coffee shop or near traffic, or if it hasn't been there for a long time, it will hopefully have more of a positive feeling about it, because it's practiced at home and you've paired it with something really tasty. So this is the aim of the video, is just to introduce the sounds. So please do give it a go with your puppy, even if you feel like your pup is happy with certain noises like traffic or coffee shops. It's always good to keep it fresh in your puppy's mind, and to keep pairing it with something positive, so that when they do do get back out there and back into their training, they're not overwhelmed by certain noises. So there are a few important things to remember when we are looking at desensitisation and counter conditioning. And the first one is making sure that you connect the stimuli with something really positive. So when you are changing a dog's emotional response, make sure that the positive treat is really salient or appealing to the puppy. So with our dogs, it's generally food. So that's why I keep mentioning the peanut butter bone. But this also could be praise. It could be their favourite toy, and it doesn't have to be the same each time. You can change it up as long as it's something really positive to connect with that stimuli. The other thing is, once again, to think about the level that you're starting at. So not to push it too far with your puppy, and make sure that the level is below their threshold. So once you've established that, then you can make sure that you increase their rate of exposure really gradually, and this will just make the whole process successful. And the other point I wanted to make, and this is probably the most important point, is to make sure you get your timing right. So make sure that the puppy sees the stimuli or hears the stimuli, and then it gets the positive treat. And this will then allow them to make the association that when they see the stimuli, they instantly associate it with the treat, rather than if you do it the other way and you gave a dog a peanut butter bone and then showed them the lollipop lady, and that they found quite scary. It will then make the peanut butter bone a negative thing, because that's what they're associating it to. So as soon as they saw the bone, they would instantly think, oh my God, no, the lollipop lady's going to come, or the Hoover's going to come. So it's really important that the sound happens first, or the exposure happens first, and then the positive treat or affection or toy. So give that a go. Please do listen to the sound CDs and practice with your dog. And then let us know how it goes, and any questions or any concerns, then please do ask myself or Alyssa, and I will speak to you soon. Thanks.